Thanks for being with us on your Wednesday for News Center Maine at noon. I'm Brian Yacono. Meteorologist Ryan Breton is tracking our forecast. Another nice day, not quite the perfect blue sky from yesterday, but we're all right.
This is still a good one, though, Brian, that's for sure. Maybe we go from a 10 to a 9 today. All right, take a look at the visible satellite here this noontime. You can see some wispy clouds are moving through about the southern half of the state, spreading into parts of the mid-coast and Penobscot Bay. But from Bangor northward, we still have this deep blue sky right now. It's 85 in the Queen City. As we look to the south out over Casco Bay and Freeport, you can just see some of these clouds kind of filtering the sun a bit, but it's still a really nice one out there. 81 at noontime in Portland, 82 in Lewiston, 85, as I mentioned, in Bangor, and 83 in Holton. The hottest weather this afternoon will actually be in eastern and northern Maine, where you don't have any influence from the sea breeze that will kick in this afternoon. Dew points have come up in most areas now near or even above 60, so it's a bit stickier. That's especially true down through York County and into the seacoast. So for the rest of the afternoon, just some of these clouds filtering the sun from time to time, but it remains mainly sunny. Upper 80s to around 90 in northern Maine, lower to mid 80s just about everywhere else. That breeze does kick in a little bit off the ocean, not all that strong, but enough that it adds a little bit of mugginess to the air through the afternoon and into this evening. Tonight the weather will be quiet, probably not quite as cool as last night. Most of us starting tomorrow morning in the middle 60s, and we're in for another hot and humid day coming up tomorrow. That's as this big ridge of Bermuda high pressure pumps in the heat and humidity, and this will be with us into and through the weekend. There are some chances for showers and storms. I'll break down which days have the highest chance. That's all coming up in the full forecast, Brian.
Nurses at Maine Medical Center in Portland held an emergency protest this morning, demanding the release of a nurse they say was taken last week by Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Our Sam Olson live this noontime, where that wrapped up just a short time ago. So Sam, what is the latest on the nurse who they say was detained?
Hi, Brian. One of the first things the Nurses Association here announced is that Deborah Capisha will not be transferred to Louisiana today, as was expected. The group is calling on ICE to release her now and is calling on Maine Health to formally sponsor her green card. The group here says Capisha was legally authorized to live and work in the United States while her asylum case from Zambia was being processed. The crowd of more than 100 people gathered with speakers who are fed up with ICE and Maine Health. The crowd wants Maine Medical Center to sponsor Capisha for her green card, saying it's the right thing to do.
You would never hear her ever complain about anything or groan and moan about anything. You know, bedside nursing is incredibly difficult, but day in and day out, you can always count on her to show up for her patients, for her colleagues, and for her friends.
Maine Health tells us it is reaching out to the congressional delegation to learn more about Capisha's case. Maine Health says it thoroughly vets all employees to make sure they are able to live and work here in the United States. Meanwhile, the Department of Homeland Security said Capisha's visa has expired and she failed to leave. It says she will remain in ICE custody, but as we learned here today, she will not be transferred to Louisiana today. Brian, back to you.
Sam Olson, live for us in Portland with today's developments. Sam, thank you. A man from South Portland is suing the federal government. He claims DHS agents violated his First and Fourth Amendment rights. Robert Peck filed that lawsuit over an encounter he had with two ICE agents back in January. Peck recorded video showing an agent asking him whether he was following them. Peck admits he was, but tells us he kept a safe distance. The video then shows the agent accusing Peck of impeding federal law enforcement and threatening to arrest him. In the lawsuit, Peck and his attorney, David Weber, argue that observing and following the agents is not a crime.
If it's possible, I want it to sting. I want them to realize that what they've been told as agents is putting them in a very vulnerable position, that they have absolute immunity. They do not have absolute immunity.
That lawsuit seeks damages. It asks that the agents involved receive additional training. A spokesperson for DHS telling us they do not comment on pending litigation. Well, some roads closed this morning near Forside Road and Edgewater Road as firefighters were responding to a house fire in Falmouth today. According to dispatch, the call came in just before 6 this morning. The person walking by saw the smoke and was the first to call it in, followed shortly by then the family. The chief there, Howard Rice, says the response time was so quick because he had a full crew in the house. The chief also said the family just purchased that house a couple of weeks ago. Roads, though, around that scene have been reopened. Traffic also affected in Lisbon after this scene. A truck crashed into a local business there. Lisbon police urging motorists to avoid Route 196 between the Big Apple convenience store and Frank's restaurant. They said it would be closed for an extended period of time. The business that the truck crashed into, Add-Up Screen Printing and Graphics, the business said all staff members were safe and it would be closed for at least the rest of the day. Police have not released information about injuries or the circumstances around the crash or when the roadway was expected to reopen. The crash, though, is still being investigated. Today, a man accused of killing his wife is expected to waive his right to a speedy trial. Prosecutors say James Crow shot his wife, Kristen, back in 2023 in their home in Alfred. It happened 2 weeks after he filed for a divorce. This afternoon, a judge will ask Crow if he is willing to give up his Sixth Amendment right, which calls for a fast trial so anyone accused of a crime does not sit in jail for a long time. This is usually part of a defense strategy to get more time to build a case. A man from Portland who stabbed his roommate to death is now facing 16 years in prison under the term of a plea deal with the Maine Attorney General's office. Dominguez Norbrega killed Matthew Merrick at their apartment on Marshall Street in 2024. He was originally charged with murder and was facing 25 years to life in prison. But yesterday, he pleaded guilty to manslaughter in exchange for the reduced sentence. The judge must still sign off on the deal. A date for sentencing has not yet been set. Well, the Lewiston City Council unanimously approved $200,000 for the police department to cover overtime pay as the city continues working to battle youth violence. At the same time, the department is still trying to fill 11 open positions. The lack of staffing comes at the same time as the launch of a new initiative to curb that youth violence. City leaders call it the Community Engagement and Accountability Initiative. It involves city leaders working with the police department to staff the streets with more officers to stop repeat offenders in the city. And while city leaders and police are working on recruitment efforts, officials say they aren't worried about officers having to work overtime.
But I also truly believe a lot of our officers, they really love this city. They're committed to their jobs here. You know, if you look at our, never mind our issues with recruitment, if you look at the length of tenure of our officers here, they are committed to Lewiston, they are committed to the city. So I think they're actually looking forward to having the time and the resources available to get out more into the community.
Lewiston police tell us they have been working on recruitment with new technology, and they're hopeful they will increase their staffing soon. Lewiston PD is also offering overtime for officers who pick up extra hours to increase foot patrols around the city. Last night, the City Council again proving that $200,000.